150 years, the lure of steam has fascinated boys. Young boys of 7 and old boys of 70. In a world where the steam locomotive is fast disappearing from the railway scene, South Africa is an enthusiast paradise. With over 2,000 still in normal daily service, and their future assured for a good many years yet, this country is one of the steam locomotive's final bastions. And so it was fitting to use the 30th anniversary of the famous Blue Train to pay a tribute to steam. Reached out to the hinterland of South Africa towards the end of the last century, engineers were faced with a formidable task. A great barrier of mountains separated the shallow coastal shelf from the high interior plateaus. Time was short and money limited. To go through the mountains meant tunneling, expensive and slow. To go round the mountains, quick and less costly, but the curves would be very sharp. The wide, standard gauge of overseas was not suited, and the narrower 3 feet 6 inches was adopted. South Africa's narrow gauge has always restricted speed. But this beautiful locomotive, the Class 16E, was not to be deterred. On a test run, it reached over 80 miles per hour. And so, for this world record for the gauge, went the honor of hauling the 30th anniversary Blue Train Special out of Johannesburg Station. The date, Friday, April the 11th, 1969. The 30th anniversary Blue Train Special is alongside Platform 13, as the first of many different types of locomotives to head it on the long journey to Cape Town. The Class 16E backs in and couples up. VIPs who will be travelling on the special are welcomed on the dais, where they say a few words before the train's departure. Several items of historic railway interest are on display. There is also a gold-plated trophy, which will be awarded to the crew that turns out the cleanest and smartest locomotive. 5 changes of locomotives, each of a different type, are scheduled between Johannesburg and Cape Town. A distinctive commemorative headboard has been designed for the anniversary journey, and it is presented to the Deputy Minister of Transport for affixing to the front of the locomotive. It will be changed from one to the other all the way along the line to Cape Town. The 30th anniversary special will carry over 100 passengers, VIPs, members of the press, and in the main, a large party of railway enthusiasts. Yes, indeed, there is many more a person who has steam in his blood than one would expect. Luggage is hurriedly stowed in the compartments and coupes, and then it is off to the head of the train to gaze in awe and affection at the gleaming steed. Still now, but impatient to be on its way. One of the largest crowds ever seen at Johannesburg Station is gathered for the historic event. The commemorative headboard is carried through the enormous crowd to the front of the locomotive. A minor hitch, and then it is secured. The 30th anniversary Blue Train Special is well and truly launched. The train manager watches passengers go aboard. It's almost 10:15 and time to be off. The route train will take out of Johannesburg Station and through the vast railway yards of Braamfontein. It's set up by the men in the signal cabin. The whistles have sounded, the bells have rung. Right on schedule, the train leaves on its historic journey. In power and majesty, the great machine eases its train away. To add to the uniqueness of the occasion, this is the first time in more than 15 years, since Johannesburg's new station was built in fact, that a steam locomotive has been at the head of a departing train. Where is the soul of the man who is unmoved by such a sight? Into the sunlight from the dark of the station the train moves, the distinctive colour scheme of Oxford blue and French grey, known to discerning travellers the world over. For the special journey, there are 13 coaches in all. Within a few minutes of leaving Johannesburg, the train thunders through Braamfontein station at great speed. On to the first stop, 90 miles away at Potchefstroom. Punctual to the minute, the special glides to a stop. The Blue Train, one of the world's great expresses, ran its maiden trip in 1939. In those days, it was hauled entirely by steam locomotives on the 900-mile trip from Johannesburg to Cape Town. In recent years, electric traction has taken over for much of the journey, in fact from Johannesburg to Kimberley, and from Beaufort West through to Cape Town. The only section still worked by steam is the 300 miles from Kimberley to Beaufort West. To recreate the atmosphere of 30 years ago, the Blue Train special is being worked only by steam locomotives, even under the electric wires. Replenished with water, the Class 16E rejoins its train for the next dash to Klerksdorp. These are the largest driving wheels ever fitted to a locomotive for the 3'6" gauge. Each one is 6 feet in diameter. Railway enthusiasts gather in the first coach vestibule to make tape recordings. mph on the Transvaal flats. The Blue Train is renowned for its completely air-conditioned luxury, no noise or dust, and of course for the excellence of its table and appointments. And 17 miles on from the Golden City, the special draws into Klerksdorp for the first of the scheduled locomotive changes. Johannesburg, the Class 16E that has drawn the Blue Train this far, is uncoupled and pulls clear. Durban, the fresh locomotive, a Class 23, is waiting and slowly reverses towards its train, watched by a large crowd, one of many that gathered all along the way to see the special pass by. The locomotive is resplendent for the occasion, making the task of the judges, who have to choose the sprucest one, very difficult. The headboard is fitted to 2559. Onwards and southwards. Next stop, the far western Transvaal town of Bloemhof. It's all clear for the road ahead. A quick wipe of the handrails is all part of the Blue Train service. Water for making steam, 9,500 gallons of it. And a quick grease all round. The white shirt is for real. The latest in white walls. And what's more, these do not get punctures. As the late afternoon shadows lengthen, Bloemhof is left behind. The countryside rolls by little different from what it was 30 years ago when the Blue Train made its first journey along this same length of line. The forerunners of the Blue Train were the famous Union Limited and Union Express that also passed this way, and before that, in the early years of this century, trains with nostalgic-sounding names now long forgotten, the Imperial Mail and the Diamond Express. Dinner is served. And as night falls, the 30th anniversary Blue Train special speeds on into the gathering darkness towards Kimberley. Dawn breaks, and the special is now deep in the heart of the Great Karoo. De Aar is behind, and so is Beaufort West. 2/3 of the journey are over. Since Kimberley, there have been 2 more changes of locomotive. A Class 25 non-condenser to De Aar, and now one of the gigantic Class 25 condensing locomotives. For young enthusiasts, there is nothing like a hearty breakfast to keep you going for the rest of an exciting day. The miles are now not reckoned from Johannesburg, but to Cape Town, and there are still 212 to go as the special makes its way into Laingsburg. Once again, the locomotive leaves its train in search of water. Each stop is, of course, an opportunity for the enthusiast aboard to inspect every nuance and detail, and to capture it on film for all time. In their shiny glory, the locomotives are the stars of the day, and no Hollywood belle ever had so many cameras to face. 3496 is the star, for this is the locomotive that carried off the trophy, the Concours d'Elegance winner. Clean and bright beyond imagination, the Class 25 condenser is one of the largest locomotives ever built anywhere in the world, with its unique tender, 110 feet long overall. Designed for use in the arid regions of the Karoo, the exhaust steam of the Class 25 condenser is trapped and returned to the tender, where it is condensed back to water for use again in the boiler. Engine change will be made at Towers River, a town on the fringe of the Karoo where it borders with the Western Cape. The prize winner brings the special to a smooth stop and leaves to make way for the fresh locomotive that will cover the last section to Cape Town. The headboard is fitted to 2567, another of the 23 class. Now begins the most fascinating part of the whole journey, the slow descent through the winding, tortuous curves of the Hex River Mountains, where the railway line drops over 2,500 feet in the short distance of 36 miles. At one point, where it was not possible to go round the mountain, there is a tunnel, the only one on the whole trip between Johannesburg and Cape Town. Down and round it winds, a severe test for locomotive and coaches. Like a model out of the Toy Town Railway, the train rolls through the fertile vineyards of the Western Cape. The great mountain passes behind. Ahead lies the flat coastal shelf to Cape Town, just over 120 miles distant. Some of South Africa's most beautiful countryside is in this area, like the Hex River Pass, where main road, river and railway line almost link together in a narrow valley. Fantasy? A model railway? No. Reality. Nearly 300 yards and 900 tons of express train. A thoroughbred cantering with the greatest of ease. Coming into Worcester, 109 miles from Cape Town and the last major stop. The reason for the locomotives having to leave their train each time to take on water is that with the advent of electric traction, the old water columns familiar at station ends have been removed. Emergency facilities for the occasional passing steam locomotive are now provided in laybys. By now it is well into the Saturday afternoon of the second day, and with shops shut for the weekend, half the town of Worcester is at the station to see the special. Nearing journey's end, and the dull weather matches the feeling of nostalgia for the train's passengers, who for the last day and a half have had the experience of a lifetime. Clear signals for the special as it rushes through Paarl, only 36 miles left. Johannesburg, 900 miles and 31 hours away, a slow trip compared to the normal schedule. But the special was not a record-breaking attempt. It was a leisurely journey with long stops at the stations along the line, giving plenty of time to inspect the locomotives at close quarters. At Johannesburg, it was the first steam locomotive ever out of the new station. At Cape Town, it was the first into the new station there. And right on the scheduled arrival hour of 5:15, the 30th anniversary Blue Train Special draws triumphantly into Cape Town Station to the cheers of an enormous crowd. A fitting note on which to end a tribute to steam.